What is up, YouTube fam? Robbie C here. Today we're back in the backyard and we are gonna talk about why you should probably throw some standstills. Before I dive in, have to ask, Shay, how are you doing today? Are you having a good one?
So catch me if I fall.
So here we are in the backyard, as you can see, with this lovely overgrowth. Like, I mean, it's kind of like mini bushes or trees or whatever. When you guys are watching this, I will have just played my tournament this past weekend, based on when this comes out. At the time of filming this, it's 2 weeks until the performance. It is the Monday of the week before I actually get out to play the tournament. Now, if we look at last week's video talking about the Passions and Stalkers versus the Servos and Craves, we obviously landed on the Passions and Stalkers, and so I've been messing around with those since I filmed that video as well. And I am on like a 7-day trial period with a temporary bag setup to see, like, does it actually work? And so far, I will be honest, the results are promising, but I don't want to bring you guys like fully into that until it's settled, because I feel like it's pretty weird that I dropped it in the bag and then changed things. So I'm trying to make sure that I'm throwing every day. I'm getting used to it. So I went and played a round, and playing that round, this wind was persistent. And so I wanted to like make a quick like form check, a quick adjustment. But in trying to do that, it obviously gets hard to tell when you're trying to make a form change. If we focus solely on the results of what's happening, then that isn't always a good insight. And so with wind howling like it was in these gusts, it was kind of hard to tell, was I getting the flights that I wanted because my form was hitting, or was I getting the flights that I wanted because the discs are doing work, or the wind was really helping me out. So I hopped on the phone with Coach last night and we talked for probably close to an hour. And when Coach and I were chatting, one of the big things that we tried to focus on in like the later part of the year was just getting the hand to move faster, accelerating the hand, things like that. So that way my overall speed increased, because I think so often we focus on slow as smooth, smooth as far. And I don't think Danny was wrong in teaching that by any stretch of the imagination, because I think that if you don't have a smoothness to your form, then it's really hard for all of the power to transfer correctly. But there comes a moment where you have to be explosive. There comes a moment where things have to boom, and you can't really make that boom if things aren't eventually getting faster. Even when we watch like the Drew Gibsons and the Ezra Aderholds that have a very smooth, fluid looking form, it still has explosivity into it. So we focused on increasing that hand speed so that we could get there, and then suddenly we were tasting 64, 65 miles an hour on tech disc, and that felt really good. But that's where we realized other mechanics were starting to get in the way. Another issue that we're finding is that I definitely can feel that like tennis elbow type vibe flinging in. And I think it's because I'm just ending up in a lot of worlds where like I am bent sitting at a desk like this. And so my elbow stays bent a whole lot. And so when we were focused on that acceleration coming through and just trying to send the hand and let it finish the shot and all of that, I was hyperextending backwards, which was causing a ton of tension in the elbow right here. So I was going pow, overextension there, into here, and then overextension on the backside. So it just created a ton of pain in this region, which wasn't great because I was overusing it there, and then it was just really hard for it to get to comfortable again. So we focused on much more of a Calvin Heimberg type swing where it's a rotational hit, and then there's still an explosive moment on the backside. I mean, even in the servo comparison video, we had a Passion get out to 380 something feet, which felt phenomenal. Like, what a great shot. Okay, cool. So we're dialed in. But this is why distance is a drug of sorts, because you always just want more. You always want more. So I want to see that consistency continue to push, that consistency continue to rise. So one of the things that we talked about is something that I struggle with, and I think that anyone who tries to copy Paul McBeth's form is going to end up in a similar place to this. And if we try to copy Macbeth's form, Macbeth has done something that so few people have the ability to do, which is when Macbeth is coming through, because he's so focused on creating that lag, his power pocket, it's very tough for him to get into like a traditional super firm, almost elbow ahead power pocket, because that lag is there. And so Macbeth finds that McBeast gear and gets things going back here to then be able to accelerate the hand still. So with a weak pocket, it's just really hard for power to ever fully become realized. And before the comments start roasting me, I'm not trying to say that Macbeth never hits a pocket or anything like that. That's simply not true. But he definitely is not as firm in the pocket, or it's not as obvious of a pocket. I know that for me, instead of being at 90 or even a little further, I know that when I'm really hitting, I'm ending about right here, which just means that power is being leaked out. It's not being lost, but it's definitely being leaked in my ability to then send the shot forward. So what we want to focus on for this week with me throwing is I wanted to just exaggerate that pocket, have that pocket super firm right here, and then just see what happens. And that's step number one. Keep the pocket established, keep my arm to do that. But how do I do that? And how do I check that? So let's talk equipment wise, what we're going to be using, because while it's one thing, we talk about feel versus real. We've definitely talked about that on the channel before. It is one thing to be like, oh, I think I did it. But if we're not recording ourselves and we're not seeing it on a consistent basis, there's going to be basically no way for you to find out. So a couple cheap items that you don't need all of them, but this is, if I were telling someone like, hey, you're going to start a YouTube channel even. We got to 40,000 subscribers here on this channel just using an iPhone. Now you can have a friend hold it and record it. Another big thing I would say when you have this friend holding and recording is have them stay stationary like a tripod. So often when people film videos and they have their friends film, it's like they want to see the shot and how it went. So they do this, they go back with them and then they come through and then they follow the shot as well. The problem is if the camera's moving like this and it's not my body, suddenly the angle, instead of being side to side like this, the angle is much more like, it's just angled, it's not flat. And so because of that, it gets a lot harder to see some of the details and things like that. So we want a smartphone, and then these two pieces come separate. I'll have a link to Amazon for both of them. This is just an Amazon Basics tripod. I know a lot of people will go with like a phone tripod. This costs maybe a little bit more to get the Amazon Basics tripod for a camera. But the nice thing is if you ever want to take it to a course or anything like that, the 3 legs, I can adjust them all throughout, which makes it easier to set it and find flat while I'm out there on the course, as opposed to the phone tripods are really small in the base and they stand really tall, so they fall over because not a lot of disc golf courses have a place where you can just lay things flat. And then this is the Ulanzi phone rig, Ulanzi on the back there. Just really great, stable, holds the phone pretty easily inside of it as well. For the camera folks, when you buy accessories for that, it has 3 cold shoe mounts on the top, which if you start getting like mics and stuff like that, it'll help. But it also has a base where it can screw in for the traditional camera mount. So this sets up, and I'm just going to take my cell phone, put it in here, because once again, I don't want to feel like I'm throwing the shot. I want to actually like watch and say, all right, cool. And am I doing it? It feels like I am, but are we actually maintaining the pocket? While I'm dragging the net over here, let's talk standstills and why standstills. I mean, we didn't just bait you into this. Why standstills could be exactly what you need for your disc golf game, especially if you are trying to improve your power, you're trying to improve your distance, you're trying to get better. I'm grateful for, I believe his name is Blitz DG, is showcasing like super far standstill shots. And here's why standstills really shine. If we think about a standstill throw, so often people are like, oh, I'll just stand still this. And so we use it as like a governor for our power. And we're like, here, we're like, we can only do so much. Boom. And so lots of times people will use standstills for sort of less powerful shots, things like that. But if we look at the position and why we do standstills, why we try to get there, a standstill is us trying to replicate the end of the throw, the final step, the final piece, where we plant, where we get into. We're trying to get into this position right here. A run up simply allows us to add more power, speed, momentum into the throw for the opportunity to then reach that standstill position and absolutely launch one out there with more power available. Like we just said with Blitz, and even Corey Ellis is another great example of this, are both players who can get a ton of power potential from this. Why? Because a standstill is not inherently a weak position. The problem, and why I feel like standstills get a bad rap, is like it's because when people just use them for these soft positions. But if you're trying to work on something, let's say for instance what I'm trying to work on today, where I'm trying to make sure that that pocket stays established, well, running in full speed on the full run up to try to hit this, I'm going to be distracted by the momentum, and I have other factors playing into how I'm actually throwing the shot. I'm not looking in this immediate aspect of the form change. I'm not looking to see, oh, did that one shot go 480 feet? Would I like for that to happen? You betcha, dude. I would love for that to happen. But I know that it's not just this simple piece that's going to make that happen. It is the combination of all the things that we've been working on. Getting the hand to move faster, understanding the rotation a little bit more, getting my pocket to actually stay consistent, making sure my footwork is actually driving into the power, driving into the brace, making sure that my brace is established. These are all factors that matter for starting to throw far. When we isolate it down to a standstill, that allows me to focus on one thing and get into that final position and get that feeling of the swing and the hit, and then I can slowly start adding power back into the shot. Once again, one of the beauties here of the standstill is we want to make sure, okay, I want to get into powerful positions, and when I'm coming through, I would be boom, 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 boom. Okay, sick. So I have this. Let's keep the shoulder rigid, locked in here. Here we go. And once again, something I feel like when people do form change is I look at that throw right there and I'm like, that did not feel incredible. Like I didn't feel like I did anything crazy, but I'm changing something. So it's gonna be new, it's gonna be different. And because it's gonna be new and different, that does not mean necessarily that that's bad. This is also why it's really helpful to have a coach in your life, because if I can't look at this and make some analysis and some understandings myself, then that's where the coach comes in, and that coaching relationship really does help take things to the next level. Okay, that time I know I leaked. I got up high and I let it go. Another thing this really helps for is because we're isolating, we're not doing a ton, it allows me to feel those differences. I've spent so much time doing these sessions where it's not just let me go play around, let me go play around, let me go play around, and I'm thinking about the throw, I'm thinking about the score, all that. Because you do these sessions, it allows you to get a feeling for what your body was doing. I don't know about that last one. We'll see. Yeah, even there, I'm still not like just doing that. I'm still letting my shoulder pull ahead faster than my elbow is getting there. Yeah, because when I swing backwards, my arm is breaking the plane. Let's focus on the last couple. I tried to keep my head down. Let's see if that helped. No. Okay. So I got some ideas. Here's something that I'm immediately noticing, and maybe that's what's screwing me up, is one thing when Coach and I were talking about this specific change in general. So I'm right here and I'm like elbow focused, elbow focused, elbow focused, elbow focused. I'm locked in. Elbows here, it's good. And then I'm coming up, and instead of maintaining elbow thought, as soon as my head turns back to coil, I go to my hand. And so because I now go to my hand, you can see it reaches out, even if it's not behind me, if it literally is reaching out. Now what has my elbow done? My elbow has literally lost its bend, which means when I turn in, if I don't give extra attention to the elbow to try to get it, like even there, you can just see it slowly turning. The elbow has to move faster here, or else the pocket doesn't stand a chance. So I'm gonna have to, in here, pull extra to get that to hit. And what I wanna try is, what if we Rather than thinking about like the elbow, get it up and then swing it back to the elbow. It is elbow. And I'm just gonna keep this bent and I'm just gonna stare at my elbow. I'm just gonna stare at my elbow the whole time. Didn't feel very powerful. That time I think I literally watched me open it. Nope. Okay, felt powerful. Maybe there's something in that. Maybe I need to rotate the shoulders a little slower, starting it ahead. Okay, or just be a sissy and don't hold on to it. Huh? Huh? I like that a lot. I like that a lot. Okay, guys. Now we're cooking. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Hype. That felt good. Okay, one more, and then we wrap up the video. You guys ready? You guys ready? Let's see. Yeah, I'm just kidding. It's normal. That felt decent. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's why we throw standstills. It's because you get too excited and you're like, oh, I did it. I changed it. Feel versus real overcomes. And that last one, I was like, oh, that felt decent. That felt decent. And where was my pocket? Right here. My pull through is right here. No matter if I felt like, I feel like to make that change, if high feels like the play, I'm gonna have to feel like I'm throwing here, which will drop me to here. Because I felt like I was throwing here, which dropped me to here. I wasn't down here, but I was like gut level and still. For anyone who's been throwing for a considerable amount of time, I feel like trying to change your form can feel like a very daunting task. And if you do what I did, where you're just like, I'm gonna break it all and restart, that gets tough. That can get real tough. I would not suggest that if you feel like you have competent form already. Obviously, worth it. I feel like I've gotten back to the high 300s, and I hit it way more consistently than I was pre-change. It comes at a lot of time, a lot of frustration, and if you're gonna dive into any session where you're trying to change something that is like a low release, which has been my release for the 12 years I've been playing disc golf, it's gonna be really tough to overcome in one session. So keep your expectations low. And those standstills, like I said, we got excited at the end. We were throwing, we were like, ooh, we're cooking. The stove was not on. It indeed was not on, but we learned, and it gave some ideas. And on some of the standstills that we threw, and we threw a standstill trying to pull through high, we actually hit it. So that feels good. That's our hope. That's what we're looking for. That's what we're striving for. I hope this is helpful for you. If you're a standstill thrower, be not ashamed. Standstill gets you into the ideal position, and then you throw from there and you can learn from there. So don't be afraid to use a standstill. Don't feel like you can't lean into it. And if you are someone currently throwing a standstill and you feel like you've got that somewhat mastered, feel free to shake it up. Add in a one step. That's your next step. Stride into it, because even just that stride is going to unlock some power potential for you. And then now we're going into a 3-step. Boom. And then a full run up, things like that down the road. So I love the complexity of this game. I love that even just how we swing can feel so different. I think I'm in a really healthy place with disc golf right now, which feels good. It's happy to be here. Hope you guys have a great one. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Please make it fantastic for someone else too. But for now, we're gonna leave you with the birdie.